Okie dokie, let's finish up 10C and D. Okay, here's the deal about part C. Really what I want you to do is think about sign chart and behavior. And remember guys, when you make a sign chart, you're interested in whatever zeros you happen to find, and we found -1. Now, admittedly, this was not the best example because we really only have the one and the one real zero, I should say. So I have made a note to change it for next year. Not that it's helpful for you right now, but again, you would put your zeros on your number line, or quite frankly, if we were doing something else, you would, if you had a rational function, you would do not only your zeros, but your spots where you have your asymptotes and things like that. And then ultimately you're just going to pick, I'm going to pick the number 0 and the number -2 to plug in. You plug it back into the original function. So if I'm looking at 0, 0 to the 4th power, 3 times 0 squared plus 10 times 0 plus 6. Okay, yeah, that's going to be positive. And if I do the same thing over here on the left side with the -2, I will eventually get a positive number as well. And so when I go to sketch it, you definitely have to mark your 0. It's a -1. And actually your y-intercept is great, and obviously this is not drawn to scale, but when you have x equals 0, y equals 6, so that's a good thing to have. Now as far as end behavior, guys, remember your leading coefficient, okay, if it's positive, and you take care of your right arm first. So if your leading coefficient is positive, your right arm is heading up. If your leading coefficient is negative, your right arm is heading down. And then you look at your exponent, your degree. This is a 4th degree. It is an even degree. When it is even, my arms match. When it is odd, my arms are opposite, right? So my arms are matching and my right arm is happy. And so ultimately my graph looks something like this. Oops. Oh gosh, no, do a little better than I did. Please cross at 6. And again, you can't really see too much off the graph because this thing is a 4th degree and it blows up really quickly, relatively quickly, I should say. As far as part D with your domain and range, okay? Remember, for domain, your x values, you're interested in anything that has fractions or anything that has a radical or anything like that. This has none of that, so it's literally from -infinity up to +infinity for your domain. Your range is your y value, and the lowest you've gone is down here. You've actually hit the x-axis, so you've got y equals 0, so it's from 0, to a +infinity for your range. As far as local max or min, really what you have a minimum. You have a minimum of 0 at x equals a -1. So the of part is the actual value of the minimum, and the at part is where it occurs. Intervals of increasing and decreasing or constant behavior. And again, this was not exactly the best example for it because there's not a lot of changing going on. You are decreasing basically from -infinity up to -1. And remember, for those intervals, you are actually interested in when you write the interval, you want to write the x value, like the x is a -1 is where it turns. And so it increases from -1 up to infinity as well. And you can't really see that because it's off the graph. But again, I would pick a better one that kind of shows a little bit more changes as far as giving us more information to work with on our graph. Okay, but again, I'm just looking for general picture there, general idea. Do you kind of remember how to find your zeros? You remember how to do your synthetic division? Can you remember how to factor it across the real and across the complex numbers? Can you do the sign chart? Don't get, I don't want to say it like this, but don't get bogged down with the details. I know you guys start to tend to tense up when there's something that doesn't show itself right away, and you don't have to worry too much about that, okay?